Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the monthly board meeting for October 21st, 2022 of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. At this time, I'd like Supervisor Sue Clary to lead us in prayer, if she would, please.
Dear Father, this fall, you've given us tremendous beauty. The leaves, the hillsides, the mountains. We all go through those every single day, and we thank you for that. As we go into winter, let's remember to keep an eye out for our neighbors, be kind to each other, help those in crisis, and remember that we're community first. So, thank you, and amen.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our fire safety notices, Dave, would you like to do that also, please?
Thank you. In case of fire emergency, the exit room, there. In case of such emergency, please proceed to the nearest stairway. Go down the stairway, exit the building, move as far away from the building as you can. If you need assistance, please contact one of us so we can help you out to get out of the building safely. Also, please balance your cell phones for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor O'Brien. Now, roll call, please.
Mr. Hankey.
Here.
Mrs. Fedler. Mr. Ferguson. Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. Nolan.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Haff.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Clary. Here. Mr. Griffith.
Here.
Mr. Rosell.
Here. Okay. Having a quorum, I will ask that the clerk of the board read the public hearing introductory law for local law D of 2022.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law D of 2022. The Board of Supervisors of Washington County will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on the 21st day of October 2022 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law D of 2022, a local law to continue to enact an occupancy tax as authorized by act of the New York State Legislature. This local law shall continue to be known as the Washington County Occupancy Tax Law. The intent of this local law is to continue the implementation of an occupancy tax as authorized by act of the New York State Legislature. All persons interested in the subject matter of proposed introductory local law D of 2022 will be heard at that time and place concerning the same. By order of the Board of Supervisors, dated September 29, 2022.
Thank you, Deb. We will now open the public hearing for introductory local law D of 2022 at 10:10 a.m. Does anyone from the public have any comments on the local law or anybody on the Board of Supervisors? We'll ask this 3 times to give everybody an opportunity. Does anyone have a comment or anything they would like to add about the introduction of local law D of 2022? And does anyone have anything that they would like to comment or ask questions about regarding the open public hearing here for the introductory law D of 2022? Seeing none, we will close the meeting at 10:11 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Condensed minutes. The condensed minutes from the September 16, 2022 meeting are accepted as mailed unless there are any additions or corrections. Are there any additions or corrections that anyone has? Seeing none, we will move on to communications.
For communications from the County of Jefferson, we are in receipt of their resolution number 120, affirming support for the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and opposing the recently enacted Concealed Carry Improvement Act of 2022. From the New York State Department of Transportation, correspondence regarding the availability of funding up to $50 million in core funding for operating assistance and capital projects to support public transportation services in rural areas with population of less than 50,000. Pasadena Lake Improvement Association, a request for funding in the 2023 budget, and you received correspondence regarding the bank shop play court system. That's all I have for communications.
Thank you, Deb. COVID-19 update. Tim Hardy, Deputy Director of Public Safety, please.
Morning. Just to brief you all on a quick update on where we're at this week. Our active cases are down to 57, which is down about 29 from last week. Our hospitalizations, unfortunately, are up to 11, which is a significant increase from last week. I think it's 6 from last week. So we are seeing more severe cases and less reports coming in. Public Health does attribute some of that to people not reporting to Public Health that they're actually testing positive. So the numbers are down. Our CDC community level remains at medium, and our transmission level remains at high. 2 notes for vaccinations-wise. We held a large scale, or larger compared to what we've been doing the last few weeks, Moderna bivalent booster pod over at Burgoyne. There were 60 total appointments that filled very quickly. So we're in the planning stages to announce possibly later today a larger scale booster clinic, which will be for 18 and over. We're still awaiting our approval through Dr. Guerra for our 5 to 11 range for the boosters, so that should be coming out later today, I'm hopeful, early November. And that will be, I think we're shooting for about 100 appointments there. Obviously, if we fill that, we'll continue doing that, and there are still weekly booster pods being held at Public Health by appointment only. Those are filling up rather quickly, which is necessitating the team over there to put together these larger pods. So they're doing a great job to continue to roll those out, on top of checking with your pharmacy, medical providers for any kind of booster clinic or anything like that as well. Test kits are still available. They're here in the entrance. We do still have a few boxes left. We're trying to get our hands on some additional. And testing is still going on in Public Health Monday through Friday, PCR testing by appointment.
Yes, sir. With the appointments for the vaccination, how local are the appointments coming from? Are they coming from large distance? Are they all only county individuals? Or are they coming across borders?
The majority are county residents. There are some coming over from Warren County. Warren County's doing some booster pods as well, so we're getting a good mix. But they're all filling up pretty quickly, so the need is still there, so we're continuing to do those.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, yep. You may.
When you're opening up the office without appointment to DMV, to the county clerk's office?
Okay, that's so we can address during the supervisor's privilege before, if you'd like to, at that point in time. You can address it during the supervisor's privilege before, at that point in time, if you'd like to. He's just giving his report. He's not responsible for that aspect of it.
Who is?
I am in the county clerk, in the DMV, it's the county clerk. But for the rest of it, the board decides, comes through me, goes to the department heads. But that particular one is the Department of Motor Vehicles at the county clerk. Okay, any other questions for Tim pertinent to the COVID-19? Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Appreciate it. Committee reports, audit report.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the audit report and recommend the board pay the bills.
We have a motion to approve the audit report. Do we have a second? Mr. Nolan, Mr. Nolan, Supervisor Clary, Jim, Supervisor Griffith, anybody else?
That's all.
So before I embarrass myself anymore. Okay. Seeing none, is there any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Proclamation, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, October 2022. Copies are provided to all the supervisors. I would like to ask our gentleman in charge of our cybersecurity, Roger, do you have any comments or anything like that?
I do not. As you can see, we're trying to, this month's theme is to try to recruit more people into this area. It's fairly fast growing, but the principles stay the same. You know what sites you're doing, be careful on what you click on, and we just went out to the senior citizens fair that they had in October, which was fairly well received, and we met some residents who have unfortunately fallen victim to some of the scams that are out there. So vigilance is the price, not only for you, but for other folks that you know. As especially some of the older folks that aren't used to the technology, to keep track of what they're doing. Very important. And we thank you for your continued support here in Washington County. And I'm also pleased to announce that Karen is now 4 for 4 in grants and has another one this year for cybersecurity from the state. So, bringing in the bucks. And you're doing well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. So we now have the supervisor's privilege of the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I have two this morning. First is Brown Nickel.
Yes, sir.
Just before you start, my supervisor is not here on Taxation, Kingsbury.
Okay.
I'll introduce him to it.
Okay.
I had these passed out. I hope you guys and ladies had a chance to at least review it. This is a copy of Constitution. I hope you have seen it. This is a copy from the clerk's office. I asked for a generic, but they couldn't give me one, so I had to use individual oath of office. We'll just call him Bob. I, Bob, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice Chairman of the Board of Supervisors in the County of Washington, according to the best of my ability. Now, according to what I passed out to all of you, this supervisor curtails the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. And I take offense to that. And he could take offense to that. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is this the time to bring up?
No, we can, well, yeah, you can go ahead and bring it up. I can give you the answer because you already asked the question, okay?
Okay.
And I know you couldn't hear me back there. In that particular department, she's an elected official, that's the county clerk's responsibility, okay?
When I asked them, they said,
No, you need to ask, well, you need to talk to the county clerk. She's the one that has the protocol for setting that down there, for setting the office hours down there. Because she's an elected official, it's her department.
and they said they didn't know.
You talked to the county clerk yourself?
I talked to somebody
Okay, well,
behind
you need to talk to the county clerk.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's an individual.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, the third thing is, if you look out the window, I got a truck full of trash.
Okay?
Is the tow path open?
I don't
Is that
know.
where I'm supposed to take the trash?
Well, I don't know if it's open or not. I haven't been by there today. I don't know what their hours are or those types of things. They don't belong to us anymore. Those are not ours. Those are not county property. Those are private individuals that own those, private companies.
So we don't have a trash service anymore?
Not as far as, well, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know if they're open or closed now. I don't know what their operations are on a day-to-day basis.
I'm a county citizen, right?
Yes, you are.
I'm asking a question. Do we have a trash?
And I'm telling you, I haven't got the answer to that question. I don't know if they're open today or not.
They're not. I just drove by and they're...
Mr. O'Brien,
The answer is the county has no longer any interest in waste disposal or trash disposal. That's in the hands of private companies. You'll have to talk to private companies, and the one out on 196. Have to go there.
They're closed. The gates are up. Towpath Road is open, I can just dump
Towpath
it
Road,
there.
there's so many trash place on Towpath Road.
Huh?
There is no trash place on Towpath Road.
No, they're gonna dump.
Yeah, there is. It's right, you open up the door and throw it out the window.
Then the sheriff can pick you up and charge you with criminal activity.
Well, I think the sheriff should pick you up for not having a trash store.
Well, that's, your time is up, but the fact of the matter, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Also, only one supervisor that only keeps the trash.
Thank you.
I got another one.
Now, what difference is closed?
No campaigning, Bob.
I have, number two is an Argyle resident, Mark Harwood. I'd like to extend privilege to him to buy that. And Mark, get one of the microphones to speak into it.
I see why nobody else shows up. A little bit. I'm my best, guys. I don't wanna be here, I really don't. Some of you guys have heard from me already, so, and this may not be the right place. I talked to Bob a little bit, maybe I need to be committee at some point about this, but all you guys, how many of you have heard from me? So, I'm probably ill-prepared for this a little bit, but I'm gonna read through the notes that I made, just so you have an idea. So, first of all, we gotta come up, I've asked John a year and a half or 2 years ago, is there a basis that the Amish are exempt? And if there is, there needs to be a law. We can't have Amish building without permit, building their homes, but everybody else has to get a permit to build their homes. So, asked John for the, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I got nothing. So, there needs to be a basis for that. We can't just let one group of people build, another group of people gotta follow the rules. This group doesn't follow the rules, but this does. Is there a basis for that? You guys, you can come up with your answers later. I got 5 minutes, so. About 2 years ago, I was doing a job for Tom Wensley. Everything by the book, little porch job. Tom Wensley, somebody, Bob, you probably know him, in-kind officer, super nice guy. Inspector was at my job 5 times. I went away on vacation. I'm away on vacation. There's a stop work order put on my job by Dan DeGregory. So when I talked to Dan about this, he said, John Graham insisted that you put that stop work order on my job. Not a phone call, not nothing, not one single thing, a stop work order. And that is, in my world, I've been doing this 30 years, who in the hell can okay, put a stop work order on my job without calling me? They've been there 5 times, so that's abuse of power in my opinion. So, no phone call, nothing. So 5 times on a damn porch job. When I confronted John about this, he said, I have the authority to do this. Unbelievable. Yeah, he looks past it, he's not. So, a guy that I work with often, Jake Ash, had a house he wanted to sell, had a handrail. A deck was put on without a permit, happens all the time. I don't do that, but it happens. John came and inspected the job. The handrail was at 35 7/8 inches because the pressure treated had shrunk 1/8 of an inch. John insisted he put another 2x4 on top of that and said, you can take that off when I leave if you want to. At the same job, John reached down and grabbed the guy's vinyl siding and ripped it up out of its spot. And the flashing didn't come up adequate for John. Well, a lot of times when decks are put on afterwards, the flashing was up 1.5 inches or so. It wasn't adequate for John. It's plenty to keep the water out. That's a spot where you can say to yourself, you know, it's going to keep the water out. No, I got to be a jerk and make this. First of all, you shouldn't have grabbed his freaking siding and ripped it up. That's just, it's outrageous what's going on with this guys. So, 2 years ago, I was building, I'm just going to go through these. I would love phone calls from any of you guys. This is just me. Every single day, I hear it. Every single day. This morning, I'm hearing from people about they can't stand this department. So, you guys got to know there's a problem. I've talked to a bunch of you. So, and nothing. What's the oversight in this department? I think you hire a guy and just let it fly. That's what it looks like to me. These guys are out of control. You know, every one of you knows you have a problem with Pat Freeborn, and you just let it go. So, John refused to give me a permit on a job on Casio Lake because there wasn't an LVL report. It had an architect's stamp on it, and John goes, I want the LVL report. Well, an architect does the LVL report. It's up to the architect. Once the stamp is on it, John doesn't deserve an LVL report. He shouldn't be holding up jobs for a damn LVL report. Same exact time, I'm doing a job for Leon Barkley. Unfortunately, we lost Leon, great guy. It was on an approved subdivision. They'd done perk tests on the subdivision, okay? John, and so I wanted to start building while the septic system was being designed. Oh, no, you can't do that. Well, listen,
It's an approved subdivision with perk test on the subdivision, which we know it will support a septic system. Oh, we got a policy. There's no flexibility in these guys. It's ridiculous. I ended up framing both those houses in the dead of winter. You know what that cost me? In the dead of winter, because he held me up 2 months on each one of them. So it's just, you did not have that with Dave Armando and Bob Hunt. They did not mistreat people like this, what's going on. So, for some reason, since I asked John about the Amish stuff, I'm no longer included in his group emails. So the last I knew, he was gonna get a group of builders together and have a meeting to improve relationships. Did that ever happen? That happened? Okay. I wasn't invited if it did happen. So. Many people, I know septic guys in Queensbury that I used to work with my stepfather 35 years ago when we built houses in Queensbury and Highland Park. I've been in this business a long time, guys. I called the septic guy that I knew. He goes, I will not work in your county. Will not work in this county. We all know why. What in the world are you guys giving Pat Freeborn control of the septic department? He has no freaking clue. No clue. I mean, it's water soaking in the dirt. He probably can time that. Who can? It's just ridiculous. This guy is about obstruction. You guys know it. You know what's going on. You do nothing about it. Pictures. Why can't the county accept pictures? It looks to me like they don't want to accept pictures because they would rather get in their car and ride around than do their office work and get the permits out. That's what it looks like to me. So there's no reason that we can't provide. I've been in this business 35 years. You don't trust me to take a picture of ice and water shield on a roof, and when we're standing up on a roof and we take a picture of that, you think that's a better inspection with today's phones and the cameras on there? Is that a better inspection than these guys standing at their car going, writing it down? You bet your butt it's a better inspection, and you got proof of it. So why can't you accept more pictures? Why, it seems like constantly, we got to come out. You don't need to come out stuff. Allstate will accept pictures of my truck if I crash it, and why can't you accept pictures of rebar? It's ridiculous. Right around. That's what it looks like to me. All right. I kind of broke this up into categories. I hope you'll give me more than 5 minutes. Pat Freeman, engineer wannabe. Not an engineer. You want to tell every engineer. You want to stop me? You can.
Well, it's 5 minutes, but yeah.
Okay.
In fairness to everybody else, that's all we give everybody else.
Okay. All right.
But I can assure you this, we will take these issues to the committee.
I'd like to. I'll be back next month to finish the rest of it.
Can I have a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Mark, you referred on an engineering report, LVL report, what does that mean?
It's an engineered piece of lumber. So when an architect stamps a drawing, there's LVLs or engineered lumber in it, and these guys aren't happy with that. And this issue has been addressed, and the last I knew, the stamp counted no more LVL reports. Is that the case, John? Are you still requiring LVL reports even on a stamped plan? Yes. Okay, the last I knew, I was told that wasn't going to happen anymore. The engineer stamp solved it. Right? So it's just another way to hold progress up. If that engineer stamps a freaking plan, oh no, that's not adequate for us. We need more. I mean, it's about making themselves feel like they're better than engineers. It's crazy what's going on. This isn't just me, guys. It's not just me. I hear it every day. Builders don't want to come and stand in front of you. I'm not comfortable right now. But this has to happen. This has to stop. What you're allowing to go on in this county, it's been years. Pat Freeborn's been abusing people for years. You guys know it. And you're just letting it happen. It's crazy. So, my 5 minutes is up. You can find me easily, find my phone number, call me. I will come sit down with you and go over just my experiences with these guys. This is just me. There's other builders that are just fed up at the same point. Engineers that are fed up. Ethan Hall had it. I got a name from a guy yesterday. An engineer on the call, he just had it after 2 months to change the septic tank, 2 months to get a permit to change a leaky septic tank. Just the tank, not the leach field, just to change the tank. 2 months. That's ridiculous. Meanwhile, it's leaking in ground the whole time. So,
Thank you, Mark.
all right. I'll be back next month to finish.
Mark had suggested submitting photos. I had suggested that, a year ago, maybe? The same point, I said that, car insurance companies will accept the photos. You're exactly right.
There's no reason. It looks to me like they're trying to grow the size of that department. And all you got to do, if you accept pictures, am I going to cheat? Am I going to cheat and put rebar in, take a picture of it, and then take it out? Is that, then you're treating me like a criminal. If you can't trust my photograph of rebar, then I'm a criminal and I'm not putting it in there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hogan's not here, so I'd like to extend privilege to Mr. Gage.
Sure. Mr. Gage?
Thank you.
First off, I think you can all hear me. You have heard me for 30 years, and I'm the reason I was hoping to apologize to Mark for the 5-minute limitation when I ran against Corrigan. Today I'm here about something that actually kind of corresponds with what Mark was talking about. How do you delicately put it? Crap going on in the county. I'm here to talk about taxation and real property. And I'm in a process where one of my 2 pieces of property goes to auction November 1st. I paid off the other back taxes on that one June 20th. And I fortunately bought a map. Actually, I have 2 maps of the property. This is 1.8 acres that I paid off June 20th, and this is the 9/10 acres they want to take away. Now, I understand I owe $21,000 in back taxes thanks to a heart condition I got a year after I got the house, 6 times in the hospital, 3 failed conversions, no longer worked, 2 years before I got on the SSI. I live on a fixed income. I have paid off the taxes on this 1.8 acres, and I have no problem showing you the pictures there, but they're the only proof of what it actually was in June. I put in over 40 years taking care of my mom's little empire, helped her build it up, and when the estate was being divvied up, I took the house, the 2 pieces of property that it was on, signed my name on the documents that their lawyer, the estate lawyer, gave me. Never looked at it. My mother owns that. There is no back title problems, anything like that. I assumed it as is, where is. Now, the where is of this is what I'm here to talk to you. The as is, an apartment I can't wreck because the ceiling's blown out by the last tenant she had by letting the hot water heater take it out. Can't afford to repair it and trying to catch up on my taxes. June 20th, I saved my 1.8 acres, which is listed as a vacant lot by the county. I did not know until I saw that picture after paying the taxes in full and in good faith. Understand, that's a very important part. I paid what they said I needed to pay on the tax number. When I got the map from the map lady, I asked her if that was really what I just paid off. She compared all the taxes I paid off, and she said, yes, this is the lot. My house happens to sit on the 1.8 acres I just paid off, not the 9/10 the county has always said it has. I didn't get a map when I got the house. No reason to challenge what I got. The key is, in 2017, that no longer was Lula Mae Hodge's property. It was Frederick Gage's property. And I assumed it as is, where is. Everything breaking, I took it on as this, paid off $2,300 left on the estate tax, paid the following year. Heart problems hit in, then COVID. I got 3 years behind. Those 3 years got held in COVID hold. As we all know, COVID took over. I paid last year's taxes in full on both properties. But I'm stuck in a 4-year loop. I was either to pay, because even though it's in front of the Senate this past year, they did not pass it. They want to reverse it to the old scenario where we owners can save our properties by paying the furthest most tax back. That has been changed, and it may be changed next year after this all goes down. But they only allow you to pay the most recent, then the recent after that, and then back. So once you're into a 3-year hold and you either pay this one off or the one that was there, you still in March go into the 4-year loop that I'm stuck into. Because I had to borrow to pay the money off on 1.8 acres. The June photo shows that my house is clearly on 1.8 acres by the county map, that they have no proof there's any other map ever established in the county. So that is my lines when I got it in 2017. I assumed ownership as is, where is. I come in I went to pay my taxes on the 1.8 because I basically assumed I was going to lose the other property to auction. I couldn't come up with the money. Could not come up with the money. I got like $4,000 pledged by people that can help me out, but they won't take 1 And yet, in June, I still had the ability up to June 30th to pay off the last year's taxes, $6,500. It's a two-family home. They rated it at $238,000 on 9/10 of acres. Now my house is actually on 1.8 acres, which makes it closer to a $300,000 value, even if it's broken down. 23rd, I went into, put 166 on Martindale Avenue, and like I said, you guys are welcome to look at these pictures. My name is clearly there. You can see 164 in the 9/10 acres. In June is over here. September 23rd, I come in to put 166 because Skimmerhorn bought the rest of the family property. Understand on Burgoyne Avenue, I come with, that's 9.3 acres I finished skimming off after we took all the downtown fill from the Hudson Falls road work. I did all the dozing to cap it off at the end. Took the fill in for 30 years, so I know what's there. I know it's a 47-foot deep thing, not what Skimmerhorn said is 10-foot deep of fill. So I got the 88 homes that you want to stick in there canceled. Now he's down to storage units. Back to this, the 23rd of September, I come down here, stop at the bank, grab my $300 to go pay the $322 I owe on the 1.8 acres that I cleared in June. Totally cleared off, back taxes. On that day, I decided to come down here to put 166 on that. So I go 164, 166. If I lose 164, I already have moved into the next, because it's adjacent property. 23rd, I go in and I get an updated version of my property line. And you can clearly see the difference. This is June. You see the 1.8 acres. This is where they have moved the 9/10 acre into the middle of my property, placing it over my house to sell at auction. Property was over here, they shifted it here. I have never received a notice since June they were altering either lines of any property. They have basically dragged their 9/10 of an acre over on my other property that I paid off to capture the house. They say they're going by some ancient description. Clear to see it. Yeah, that property is right over there. Now it's in the middle. Devaluing my back property by splitting the only access off of Martindale into two, put 15 feet on one side of the house. They did this all on their own. According to the map boy that explained it to me, he used this, and there was 5 of them over there that were involved in doing it. 2 in the treasury, 3 in the real property. You walked in the day I was getting this map. You know I was coming. I'm sorry. You knew I was coming because you were right there when I paid for the recent map. They were surprised that you were friendly to me because you know me as from Latham's for years. I'm Kathy Bain's brother, Lula Mae Habergage's son. You know, it is a case where they shifted these lines. Now, fortunately for me, I have a friend that just offered to put my entire $21,000 back taxes on her credit card, so I can avoid 36% in auction to try to save my house. The idea of them shifting my line without even informing the owner of either property, all you have is a lien against my property for $21,000. You don't own it, but they're acting like they own it, and they're acting like they have the right to shift my 9/10 acre over onto the house when it only clips. If you look in the first picture, the June one, it just clips my house. If you want to find this, a better picture of the June map, go on Hunter Stand Pro. The June map is still there, listed since Frederick Gage and Bolton. Now, the 23rd is the night I found out that my lady friend, the same one that's offering to put it on her credit card, came in here without my knowledge, went to the Treasury Department. Now, remember, in June, I got a letter saying I could pay the year before, off before June 30th. That means it's not a lump sum only thing. She went in May and offered them $15,000 out of her checking account to put on mine, and they refused it. That's 2 of the 3 years. I would only be dealing with $6,500 right now. Had they take it, thank God they didn't. I would never have asked her for it, and she needed money sent. but now she's willing to put it on a credit card. So I don't go into 18 to 36% interest in auction. Oh, sorry, knocking it up to close to $30,000 for this. They have shifted my life. As far as I'm concerned, it was an illegal action. I'm not here to give you guys crap. I'm here to talk like markets about processes and policies. They believe that they had the right to, without informing in any way the owner of the two properties, no matter what, they just devalued the property I paid off. It was worth $26,000. What's it worth now with a split entrance off of Martindale? They devalued that by shifting it. They also devalued the actual land property because with the house on 1.8 acres, doubles the acreage, you guys are gonna get more money out of me. Because now it's a $300,000 house. But in the baseline, they are trying to sell my $238,000 house on altered lines. That puts you guys in a position. Because once they have done that, if I allow it to go to there, I have grounds against the county. I already have a lawyer. He's already working on it. I've already gone over to the sheriff's department. The sheriff didn't know if there was a crime committed because it's county rules and regs, blah, blah, blah. But while I was there, I was fortunate enough to be given information by one of the actual sheriff sergeants who came out voluntarily, not saying anybody's name, you can check with Jeff, back up the story, came out to show me what the county did with his line. He was simply trying to dig a pond in the back of his lot and finds out that the county has his lot like this. And they had it corrected before his architect, digger, whatever, could do anything on his property. So this isn't a problem that's just affecting me, it's affecting sheriff's people. Now, he didn't have taxation or anything like that, that's my problem. Well, my problem is also that they will shift things around here without even acknowledging it to the owner. Because if nothing else, they should have notified the owner of the 1.8 acres that they have just shifted their supposed acres, or just under an acre, onto my other property. They have the right to reevaluate me in January. They do not have the right to move the property lines I got as when I took it as is, where is. They're trying to say that an ancient description that they're using to justify this, that my mother supposedly put on when she split and unsurveyed one piece of property into three, and the map man has said there is no survey filed with this. We're going off a point off this other piece of property which puts your house here.
Mr. Gage, with all
I'm
respect,
sorry.
I've let you go way over where we should
I'm
have
sorry,
this.
but you have a problem in there just like Mark. He's talking about practice and policies. I'm hoping to clear mine. You guys could get involved if you chose to through asking a judge to put a hold on until it's investigated.
We will
That's what
address
I'm trying
that
to
at the
do with
appropriate
my
committee
lawyer.
to take a look at this.
I appreciate you taking the time, though you don't like to see me.
Thank you. No, that's
I wish
true.
Mark could stay, because I want to apologize.
Sam, can I make a comment?
You make the Mr. Gage.
A long time I've been saying that the way the law is, about your 3 years in arrears is predatory.
Right.
Because you're not allowed to pay off the oldest. If you paid off the oldest, it would reset the clock and you get another 3 years. And if you wanted to do that forever, the county would actually benefit because forever you're paying penalty and interest.
Right, right.
But it resets the clock.
I got $5,000 penalty out of that, $21,000, because I haven't been in a position to pay it off.
The way it is now, where you're allowed to pay off the most recent, and they take your money, and they don't tell you, you're still gonna lose your house. I think now sometimes telling people right in front.
That's the 4-year loop I was talking about.
You maybe might wanna think about paying this off, because you're gonna lose it anyway. I've been working with Kerry Warner, nothing's ever happened, but New York State needs to change the law.
Gary Warner's the
My assemblywoman.
that put it in front of the Senate last year and bringing it back up again.
It needs to be done,
Yeah, I'm
because
in between. This may get passed next year. Got to take my home and mess around.
Yep.
And next year,
Gotcha.
it's not a problem. But the key is.
Thank you, Dana. We're gonna move forward now, okay? We've given the
Thank you
time
so
and day
much.
here before the committee.
Very much.
It needs to go before. All right, so now we are, the introduction resolutions, there are none that we need to introduce that we haven't already, handled, so we move on to the consideration of the resolutions.
Okay. Resolution number 226 by Supervisors Griffith, Campo, Hicks, O'Brien, Skelly, titled to adopt introductory local law D.
Chairman, move the resolution 226.
Moved by Supervisor Griffith. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Shaw, do you have your hand up there? Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Ferguson, and Supervisor Hanky. Is there any discussion? Yes, Dana?
This is for Roger. Roger, could this say in, that the rate can be adjusted from time to time? Or or is this locked in for 3 years?
This doesn't set the rate. The, enabling legislation said it had to be renewed every 3 years.
Right, but where, do we have something else that says that
The rate set by, the rate's contained in the state legislation as well. It's locked in by the state legislation that granted us the authority.
Oh.
And so they said you can charge this amount, and you have to renew the authority to charge that every 3 years. And this is the renewal.
Just off of that, if we wanted to change the rate, we'd have to go back.
Correct. You'd have to go back and
We
get
have the ability, but we'd have to go
Right.
back and get the okay.
new enabling state legislation that changes the rate, just like your regular sales tax.
Is it 4%
the rate
everywhere in
set.
New York State?
No, it's not. I can't give you off the top of my head which counties are what rates, but it's not the same, just like sales tax is not the same. It's whatever you ask for and whatever the state
But
grants.
is 4% kind of common?
Yeah, so I think you'll find most of the ones that have been granted are in that range, 4%.
Some of the more resort areas like George said.
Yeah. We're down the city area, that type of stuff, so, yes.
But that rate's set by the enabling legislation, and then for some reason, they sunset the legislation, so they have to reauthorize it every 3 years. Otherwise, it lapses.
Any further discussion? Anyone? Okay, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Haff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary? Yes. Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 3,641 yes, 1,049 absent. Resolution number 227 by Supervisors Wilson, Hogan, Haff, Hicks, O'Brien, Clary, titled to approve updated building use policy.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 227.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson. Do we have any seconds? Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hanky. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Hicks.
I just have some questions after reading through this, if I could. In number 5, talks about a fee. Is the only fee for the, any costs incurred by the county for a custodian? If there are no custodial fees involved here, then there's no fee to the organization, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, how far in advance, it doesn't really say, it's just first come, first served, whether somebody can reserve it 6 months ahead, or if it's available 2 days ahead. It's first come, first served for that time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does somebody approve the application and sign it for the county, says that this opportunity is given to this organization at this time? Or they just submit an application, right? They fill it out, and does anybody approve it? Where does it go to?
I believe it goes to buildings and grounds. There's not really an overwhelming groundswell of people that are coming here to use the building. It's some of the usual suspects. So I think if something came in that was out of the ordinary, they'd probably want to run it through a committee or past the chairman.
Well, I guess what I'm headed
Change
is,
anything.
if somebody has to look at it and approve it, and that person would make the determination whether a custodian is needed or not, right?
Right.
So it would be Matt Jones at this point? You think it would be the county representation?
Yeah, based on that,
to approve or disapprove?
He would
or
know,
whatever, make the
better to
determination?
advise on that. If it's just a couple, a small group that was coming in, that we could still use the same procedure we do now to do that, where,
Right, because we have the night crew here most of the time.
Okay. And I guess the last question is, if he is that person, can an organization be denied? Now, if Habitat for Humanity wants to come in and use it, I think they probably just sign through, but I know this is crazy, it's a nutty thing. What if the Nazi Party wanted to hold a meeting here? Do we have the discretion to say, we don't really think that's a good idea, we're gonna deny that?
Not if you're letting the public come in, you don't.
And this is open to anybody then?
Yep.
yes.
I guess I have a little concern there, but
It's
I'm
everybody
not
here.
sure what the answer is.
everybody or nobody is the answer.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Yeah, can we do a roll call vote on this one, please?
We're all set for the roll call.
All set for the roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Hanky?
I'm a little torn, but yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
With the understanding we can amend this at a later date, yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes, Supervisor.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 3,641 yes, 1,049 absent. Resolution number 228 by Supervisors Hicks, Skelly, Campbell, Clary, titled to amend staffing pattern, DSS, for part-time caseworkers.
Mr. Chair, I'm moving resolution 228.
Moved by Supervisor Hicks. Do we have seconds? Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Campbell. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 229 by Supervisor Fisher, titled to appoint Commissioner of Elections, Democrat.
Mr. Supervisor, Mr. Chairman, move in, resolution 229. Moved by Supervisor Fisher. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Ferguson. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Hack.
Second whereas says the Washington County Democrat Committee has recommended the reappointment. Does the Democrat Committee actually meet and vote on this, or is this just wording that's on this resolution every single?
They have to provide us a certificate of recommendation, so yes, they met and they voted, because there's a formal document that has to be transmitted to the clerk in order for them to make that recommendation.
Okay. Also, another question, the resolve, I have no problem with Jeff, I think Jeff does a great job, and this is a technical question. It says the term, 3 years.
4.
Or 4
You
years.
gotta count the first.
Doesn't the word term give Roger problems?
It's set by statute that says the commissioners have 4-year terms, and the people come from the recommendations of the two political parties. You can only vote up or down on the individual person. You don't have the authority to choose somebody yourself.
My question was about the word term.
Yeah, so it's defined. So some department heads have terms, like the Commissioner of Social Services and me, and some don't have terms. This is one of the ones that has terms, and it's set by statute.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 230 by Supervisors Wilson, Hogan, Half, Hicks, O'Brien, Clary, titled to authorize contract with Contingency Management Consulting Group for development of a domestic terrorism prevention plan.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 230.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson. Do we have seconds, please? Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Nolan. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Hack.
I have a lot of reservations about this, and it's for political reasons. Domestic terrorism. Does it matter where the terrorist comes from? You know, we could have a Saudi national here on a student visa. I wear this hat every time I come in the building. Ultra MAGA. I don't know what an ultra MAGA really is, but I just know that it really upsets our president. So I wear it. It says right here that Governor Hochul signed an executive order requiring this. Well, we live in a Democrat-run state, and we all know words don't necessarily mean what's in it. Look at the Inflation Reduction Act. Hardly any of it had anything to do with inflation. So when this is a domestic terrorism prevention plan, I have problems that politically me wearing this hat may terrorize Sue. And you can't do that. You know, Matt asked about Nazis. You can't do that. I don't want politics to come in this. If someone is killing people in a mass way, don't we already have a plan for the sheriff to react? We have to spend $63,000 for this, and at the end, it says in a form approved by the county attorney. I'd like to be able to read this plan and have the committee, the board of supervisors approve it. Because I'm gonna look through it, every word, to see where it's gonna be political.
So I'm not approving the plan, I'm approving the contract to write the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is any of this money a
You'll see the
pass-through?
plan.
Is any of this money a pass-through from the Fed? On 9/11, I watched our president take a very holy anniversary and turn it political, talking about MAGA Republicans and public enemies. This is gonna become political. I can smell it from here. And I know the Post-Star, if I don't know, the Post-Star's gonna say, oh, I'm against, protecting us from terrorism. It has nothing at all to do with this. I'm very suspicious that this will become politics to attack your political enemy. And I think we should say no, but give the sheriff everything he needs to react to a situation, whether it be a train blowing up and killing people or somebody else doing it. I have a problem with the word domestic terrorism, because if someone's killing my family, I don't care if they're domestic or foreign. I want them to be stopped. The word domestic terrorism is a very political term. And I'm going to vote yes, but I tell you, I'm going to be very, very suspicious, and I'm right on the edge of voting no on adopting a plan if it contains any sense of political words. And Roger, do you know? Sam, do you know, is there a template we have to follow on this plan, or is this an organic thing that we develop
It's
ourselves?
an organic thing we develop ourselves, and you'll have to approve the plan. Once it's developed, you'll have to approve it. You'll see it again, and you'll get the vote on it.
But there's not certain parameters the plan must contain?
Well, yes, there are. So what the idea is to set up multidisciplinary teams to consisting of all kinds of service providers, school leaders, religious people, mental health folks, the sheriff, public safety, all those folks to get together, and if threats are identified, either through the public or through other means, to look at them and say, okay, what kind of threat is this? How would it be addressed? Through a law enforcement response, a mental health response, some other counseling response, some other kind of response. That's the theory behind it. Now, again, as you mentioned, there's the theory and there's the practice. So that this policy is designed to set up something that will show how we're going to implement that theory. And the company that we're retaining is the same one as doing Warren counties, because as you know, people don't really pay much attention to where the boundaries are and when they're moving back and forth and conducting their daily lives. So we're hoping that we can get some synergy with Warren County as well in this, so that if there are things, and this was a reaction to the Buffalo supermarket shooting, clearly. You can usually in New York State, you can say, here's the action, here's the reaction, right? This was one of the reactions.
So, is this plan that you can, since I wear an Ultra MAGA hat, that someone's gonna go through all my Facebook posts and everything else to see?
No,
Why not?
I don't believe that's what.
You're gonna get a pistol, I think they're allowed to do all that.
Well, that's being debated now in the courts as well.
According to the governor, if you own firearms and you approve firearms, then you need to get out of the state. So it's a very thin line of what is socially acceptable and what's not. If it's not socially acceptable by the party in charge, the Democrats, and the mainstream media, do I fall into that definition? Do any of you fall into that definition? You very well could. That's my...
Okay, thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wilson.
So just to be clear, this requirement, to develop a plan as defined by the executive order specifies what the plan must contain. It doesn't say specifically how you're going to address it, you have to address it. So the framework of the plan has been laid out by the state. We have to fill it in. That's what we're asking this company to do. Fill in the fundamental elements that are required by the executive requirement from the governor's office. That's what we're doing. How we do it is up to us. what we're willing to accept from this company that's gonna provide.
You have to realize that there's a template, there really is, because there's certain parameters it must contain, on the template. You have to be very wary, and I would request, from the clerk of the board, I was not at this meeting, so can my name be withdrawn as a sponsor?
Be done. Supervisor Campbell, do you have a comment?
Yeah,
Hand up
so
there.
I think Dana's really right in this case, that we just have to be careful where it goes, but I think in a politically charged environment, there's a lot of rhetoric and getting your name on it to do what you want to do, but I think you touched on one thing earlier, I'm not sure we do have a plan for any kind of terrorism, well, domestic terrorism, so more than likely, it's a way to get money to us to develop a plan for any kind of terrorism. They just gave it a label to make it look like they did something.
Well, if you have a mass shooting event, I'm sure the sheriff has a plan for mass shooting. He just doesn't have the word.
But it's not probably with state parameters. He probably has his plan.
The county has mass casualty events, whether it's a plane crash, a mass shooting, or whatever, there's a plan for that. It's part of the county's emergency planning. That's done all the time. So whatever causes the mass casualties is addressed by whichever agency is appropriate. If it's a shooting, the sheriff's department and the state police. If it's a plane crash or a chemical spill, which we've had one of, it's addressed by those kind of folks. And so we do have contingency plans for mass casualty events that we hope we never, that stay nice and dusty and on the shelf forever, but they are out there.
So when they do redundant work, we just submit that mass.
I'm sure that will be part of it, but I don't think it's not designed, I don't think, to address the aftermath. It's more, at least the vision that they're presenting to us is it's more a before it happens, to keep it from happening kind of thing. To address maybe some of the factors that may lead into that kind of an event and hopefully be able to cut them off at the pass. Again, all we have is the bare bones of the executive order, and now it's up to us to put something on them and decide how Washington County's going to fulfill that mandate. Yeah. And then mandated it comes with funding, but this year, but.
I think we just have to weed out the rhetoric to get to what we actually need for a plan.
Yeah, and it's not, I think the intent of it, as we plan forward with this, is to, put us in a position almost like mutual aid, so we know at a given time who responds to a given emergency, whereabouts in the county it may be, and those types of things. If we have to have another agency come in, whether it be NCON, whether it be probation, whether it be the state police, so it goes beyond just a county border, because it can be of a scale that would need more than what we could actually provide. And I think that's, and we're all sitting here beating our heads about what it actually is, and Tim's sitting in the back, they can tell us. Tim, you want to just take a second and explain what it actually?
Last thing Roger said is the nail on the head. This is domestic terrorism prevention plan, one of which we don't have. It addresses things. All the guidance was very clear about what has to be in there that was communicated to everybody in the group as far as the components that are required for the plan. Really, it's putting together an official framework of people that will be involved in this, whether, like Roger said, mental health, our medical providers in the community, social services, probation, alternative sentencing. We're trying to make sure that things aren't falling through the cracks right now, that one agency is dealing with someone or an incident, and another agency has no idea about that incident, but has other information that would be pertinent to identifying a problem of concern or helping address it. Certainly, there are other components to this, and we're looking for training for law enforcement, training for schools, training for mental health providers. It's not going to all be the plan. This is just authorizing us to engage contingency management to help us form the plan for the county, of which we'll come back to the board for approval, for weighing in on it, obviously prior to approval, and then certainly we are going to work hand in hand with Warren County doing this. But like Roger said, the border doesn't know any different. We're communicating all the time with them, going back and forth.
The idea is that they have some, I think these words synergy, that seems to be the deal, but so if a school's having a problem with a student and they're a part of this group, maybe the mental health folks have a service they can offer that student that the school's not aware of. Maybe DSS has a service, maybe probation has a service. So the idea is that you can either bring your own problems or, again, it's designed for members, excuse me, I've got a problem hitting the mic too, members of the public to, if they think somebody is being is concerning them, they can go to this group, or they can go to an individual organization that can then bring it to this group, and then it can be looked at from a menu of services or menu of options that can be offered anywhere from law enforcement to counseling to whatever. So it's very much in the prevention mode rather than in the aftermath mode. We are unfortunately prepared to deal with the aftermath because we've had plenty of examples to do that. This is to hope we don't get to that in the first place. That's what's being presented to us. Again, the devil's in the details, and we'll have to see how we're going to do this, and who's going to be a member of it, who wants to be a member of it, and things like that. The idea is to gather in a wide array of, not just county organizations, but community organizations that can be involved in this thing and can share information.
Okay, thanks, Roger.
I think if we pay attention to Constitution, Nichols called it one, I have one. We pay attention to this, and the plan will be okay. We pay attention to the Constitution, and this might prevent it from being a political plan to target your political plan.
And we will have the opportunity to do that because the plan will come back before the respective committee and the full board, Dana. Dan, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did earlier, and my only comment, I brought this up in committee, so I don't want to go into great lengths about it. The political aspect, I can see where Dane's coming from, but I think the bigger concern is all these mandates and all this legislation coming out of Albany. Starts out as good intention, and I think this starting out as a good intention. But as Bob always points out, unfunded mandate, and this could turn into one of those, and that's what I really caution everybody on this plan. If this comes through this mandate and said any additional cost be picked up by the state, I'd have a whole different feeling about it. But it doesn't say that, so be careful where we go with this, so.
Thank you, Dan. Matt?
I just want to make comment for the record that, Dana, I would never consider you a domestic terrorist. No, there are days when you come in here, you kind of scare me a little bit. So, sometimes we appreciate that.
That is on the record, Matt, we got that.
Does that mean he's a county terrorist? No wonder why you said like.
He's not a terrorist at all. Okay. So, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I have to.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Resolution number 231 by Supervisors Clary, Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Ferguson, entitled to authorize contracts with Warren County for differential response services to Warren County youth under the age of 12.
Moved by Supervisor Clary. Seconds, please. Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Fisher, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Shaw, and Supervisor Hanke. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 232 by Supervisors Fedler, O'Brien, Roselle, Wilson, titled to amend rules of the Board of Supervisors to adopt procedure for members' video conferencing.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 232.
Moved by Supervisor O'Brien. Do we have a second? Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hanke, Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Supervisor Hicks, sorry.
Sorry,
You're
I
fine.
just got a series of questions that.
Yep.
I was reading through this again last night and thought, if I was in a situation where I needed a video conference, then how I would do it. I couldn't quite figure it out, so I'm just gonna ask some questions. And I'm not sure even who can answer them. Maybe Roger can give it a shot. And in item number 1, it says, in the third line, present at one of the designated public meeting locations, which I assume would be this room and the committee room. If they're designated, is it designated in the notice that the clerk puts out? That whatever that says where the meeting is, that's the designation? Is that
Right, so there's two kinds of remote attendance. One is...
No.
Okay.
It says, if you're unable to get to the designated public meeting location.
Right, which is the committee room, right.
Or here. So
Or
those
here,
are the,
right, in the this building.
right, so, and that would be in the notice, whether it's in the committee room or committee, or
Yes,
right?
or you could, have an offsite, you could meet it.
Okay. How do we in the notice?
Highway barn?
Yeah, highway barn.
It'd be in the notice.
Right, so
That's
that'd be
how the
the,
designation would be defined.
right.
Okay. extraordinary circumstances. So that's kind of a vague, open thing. I guess I'm asking, who would define that? Would you have Roger, or Sam, or Deb, or would the supervisor themselves take responsibility on to say, Deb, I have extraordinary circumstances, and here's why I want to go down the video conference route?
If you recall in the local law, we had, a sentence or two that said the chairman of the board would decide in the case of a board meeting, and the chairman of the committee would decide in the case of a committee meeting, and those two sections were removed before the local law was passed. So now it's up to you to designate what your extraordinary circumstance is.
The supervisor themselves. I want a video conference in. I make the designation, so I own that decision, what's considered extraordinary.
But I think you'd have to say what it is. You can't just say, I have extraordinary circumstances. I think you'd have to say because, whatever.
Okay,
whatever.
verbally, written, or when I make the request, I should put it in there what the extraordinary circumstances are?
I think when you make the request, you should do it, you should inform the clerk of what your extraordinary circumstances are. And then I would recommend also, when you attended via, the meeting, I would say to you, you should probably disclose that on the record of the meeting and say, I'm here by video today because of my extraordinary circumstance of.
So if I'm in White Creek and there's a 2-foot snowfall, I want a video in, that's extraordinary circumstances. It doesn't snow 2 feet every day. Is there then a determination by somebody beyond that could call that into question? Or once I determine it's extraordinary, then it's done?
So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go along fine and dandy until there's a decision that somebody doesn't like.
That's where I'm headed.
And they're going to say, you didn't have a quorum that day to make that decision because Mr. Supervisor Smith's extraordinary circumstances weren't extraordinary. Judge, I would like you under Civil Practice Law Rules, Article 78, to annul that determination, and the judge will tell you whether your extraordinary circumstances were indeed extraordinary.
So someone will make a determination later on. It's only if it's challenged. Until it's challenged, it's my choice.
Well, I'd like to think, like I'm going on vacation next week, I don't think that's extraordinary. I think I kind of knew it was coming, but we're asking each one of you to make our own judgment.
Our own judgments to a point.
Correct.
Before we leave this point, ask a question on that. Extraordinary circumstances, if they can't be here, they can't be here, so the quorum question is sort of out of the loop, they can't be here for whatever reason it is. So,
well, you can count toward a quorum if you have extraordinary circumstances, if you're attending from a public place.
I thought you didn't, as a member of quorum, be extraordinary circumstances. You could vote, but you couldn't be counted as a member of quorum.
Let's have to double check our rules.
The quorum has to be at a designated.
Yeah, the quorum has to be at the designated area.
Yeah, so extraordinary circumstance can't count as a member of quorum. He's either here or he's not here, and if he's not here, we don't have a quorum. If you don't have a quorum,
then you can't do anything anyway.
Right. So then your vote doesn't count.
Right, but normally you're not allowed to participate if you're not a member of the quorum. This allows you to participate. As a member of the organization, as a member of the committee. Member.
Yeah, Roger, on the point of you saying that Matt states extraordinary circumstances, and you say you have to be more specific and define it. What if I just said it's medical? I don't think, no, but I don't think I would go any further than that.
I agree. So when I said to you, I would recommend that it's just that, so that there's some kind of record as to why you're not here. I am not going to say to you, and I don't think any other board member has the authority to say, that's not good enough, tell me more. I'm just saying that you should say, my extraordinary circumstances are, I have a medical condition or personal circumstance. Right. And if we need to delve into that later on in Article 78,
so really
we may
you don't need anything other than saying this. Can't make it. Extraordinary circumstances.
Right, but if you're appearing by video, what I would say to you is this, is there's two kinds of video. There's the, I'm in a public place, I'm attending from my town hall and whatever, which is open to the public, or I'm invoking the extraordinary circumstances, section to appear by video. And just leave it at that.
Just from a wordsmithing standpoint, again, number one, so I understand the designated public meeting locations.
Right.
And then it says, a physical location. The majority of the public body must conduct a public meeting from a physical location or location where the public can attend. A physical location is any location identified specified in the meeting notice.
Right.
So now I'm a little confused about what's the difference between a public location and a designated location? Because it's designated in the notice, it has to be a public location, right?
Right.
We're gonna have a meeting there. So why is the public location now is it a different place now? Or is it the same thing, it's the same thing, why?
It could be that town hall thing where you're in your town hall in Granville and the public's allowed to attend there as well.
All right, so I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole too, because that's where we're at. In my town hall, right, that's ADA compliant, has the bathrooms, people can come in. I've got a desktop where I'm gonna zoom in from. I can't have 20 people come stand behind me in my office to attend. I have no way to show them the meeting in my town hall. So can my town hall be a physical location that I can video conference in from? What are the parameters that allow that?
The public has to be able to participate in the same way you are.
If that can't be done, then I can't.
Then it wouldn't be a qualifying public location.
Where I'm headed here is, I'm finding it very difficult for me to comply. And I can't comply with the use, but
Right.
I have to, if I'm not gonna show up, I have to really go out of my way to provide an opportunity for me to video conference in, right?
Well, the whole point of this law is, remember the COVID days, the point is to get people back.
Yeah.
Which we spent all our time during COVID saying, I want everybody to come back, and now we're talking about how to not come back, but.
Daryl, do you have a facility in your town hall that people can come in and watch the meeting? So that would be an opportunity that Daryl could do that. If the rest of us don't do that, whether we have extraordinary circumstances or not, we're gonna have to show up here.
Well, extraordinary circumstances is coming, to use Mr. Shaw's analogy, is coming from your hospital bed, where nobody has to be there but you. The public meeting exception is when you're at a public location.
Without extraordinary circumstances.
Without extraordinary circumstances.
I think we had, to attach yours, Matt, I think we had to start with James, though.
In conversation with Supervisor Wilson, like, he did that himself at his town hall to set it up. You know, so, again, it's an extraordinary circumstance that he took upon himself, knowing that he might be in a situation where he still has to deal with it, but he made it viable in his town hall for everybody to come when he has to have that they can participate the same way they would here.
No, that's great. I think he's the exception to the rule. Right. And if I don't have what Daryl has, then I really can't do this.
To boil it down, no matter what you do, if you have it in your town hall or whatever, a public location, it still has to be an extraordinary circumstance because you're not here. But that's only if you want to be counted as a quorum. You have to be at a public location to be considered part of the quorum. If you're not at a public location, if you're in a hotel room somewhere, you still participate, but you can't vote as the quorum. That's the difference, who can vote, who cannot. If you're in a public location, you can't attend due to extraordinary circumstances, maybe somebody slashed the tires on your car, you can't drive here. That's an exception, but if it's public, you can vote. If it's not a public location, you cannot.
Well, wait, what if I'm got a broken leg and laid up attraction in Les Falls Hospital? That's extraordinary. It's disability or illness.
But the public can't go there.
Exactly. So can I be quorum, can I vote?
No, you can vote, but you can't be quorum, right?
Wait a minute. I'm getting no's.
I want to get Roger to.
All right,
Hold on.
here we go.
Things.
Right, here we go. Questions and answers from the Committee on Open Government, the guys that tell us whether we're right or wrong. What is considered an extraordinary circumstances under which a public body may permit a member to participate remotely by video conference from a location not open to the public? That's extraordinary circumstance. Each public body that wishes to allow for remote attendance by its members at locations that do not allow for in-person physical attendance by the public is required to adopt a local law. Done. Authorizing remote attendance and must establish written procedures. This morning, what we're doing is set forth what they determine to be extraordinary circumstances. The law includes a non-exhaustive list of examples, such as including disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, and any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at the meeting. Question number 2, which I think is the other question. Are public bodies permitted to conduct its meetings at multiple physical locations from which members of the body may participate if those locations are open to in-person public attendance, regardless of extraordinary circumstances? That's Mr. Wilson's office. It's all set up for the public. Yes, we understand that the intent of the amendment to the open meetings law was to expand the authority of a public body to allow its members to participate in a meeting using video conferencing under limited circumstances where the member's location is not open to in-person public attendance. Before the pandemic, public bodies routinely held proper open meetings by video conference from multiple physical locations identified in the meeting notice. Mr. Wilson would say, I'm attending from, and the meeting notice would say, you can come here to Fort Edward, or you can go to Putnam. Okay? Identified in the meeting notice that were open to the public, connected virtually together by video conferencing. This remains proper. It was not the intent to limit the existing authority to virtually connect multiple public locations from which members and the public may attend through the use of video conferencing technologies. Next, so there's the two kinds of remote. Next one, which members of the public body may count toward a quorum, which I think is our third thing we're talking about. Any member who participates at a physical location that is open to in-person physical attendance by the public, and which location has been included in the meeting notice, may count toward a quorum and may fully participate and vote in the meeting if there is a quorum of members at a physical location open to the public. Public body may properly convene a meeting. A member who is participating from a remote location that is not open to the in-person physical attendance by the public may not be counted toward the quorum, but may participate and vote if there is a quorum of members at the physical location or locations open to the public.
Perfect, so if I'm in the hospital and there's a quorum here,
Yes.
then I don't count on the quorum, but I can vote.
I don't think so. No, you can't. You can participate and vote.
And vote.
And vote.
I can vote, but the hospital's not open to the public.
But it says as long as you have a quorum, you can be the extra guy. Okay? So you're never gonna be the determining vote.
You're not gonna be the quorum guy.
Right,
You're the vote
so
guy.
7-member committee, four people. Mr. Hicks is the 5th. Mr. Wilson is in Putnam. The other 3 people are here. You have a legal quorum of 4 in a public location or locations. Mr. Hicks can participate and vote from the hospital, but he's never gonna be, that 5th vote's never gonna be determining, right? Because you only need, it may be in terms of, you're gonna need 4 votes to pass, right? So you're always gonna need 4 votes. The math will never work to make him the determining vote anyway.
That's just stupid to make it that split. It should be if you are in public and you can vote, you're part of the quorum.
We're discussing stupid we've been discussing a lot of stupid state legislation.
I'm not trying to hear a problem.
I know.
I want somebody in 6 months when they gotta do something to be able to understand what they need to do.
And so
I don't understand this, and I don't know how 6 months from now they're gonna read this and go, oh, I can just do this.
I'm reading you the Q&A right off of the committee's website, and they're the ones that developed it.
Dave?
So 2 things is, number 1, if you are an extraordinary circumstances, you still have to be on the screen. You can't,
Right, it has to be full site, right, you have to be able to be.
Second thing is one thing that if you have town halls, perhaps for our convenience, we should make sure that every town hall or public location we might want to have as a second location is already pre-screened so we know that it's capable to handle it. So when Debbie doesn't have, when she's got to put a notice out, doesn't have to be able to find out whether or not that town hall has the ability to have people in there, handicapped available, and be able to have a screen or whatever they need so the public can see.
I don't think that's Debbie's job to decide whether you are attending from a proper, it's your job to decide that. And then to just let Debbie know that you've approved, that's an approved public location, so she can list it on the meeting notice.
I think where Dave was really trying to go was the fact that you think you're all set up, then meeting day comes and there's no quorum, and Deb's like, why are we having a meeting if nothing was gonna work there? Maybe,
Well,
it is
yeah,
really.
the technology has to work.
The onus is really on the supervisor to make sure all that stuff will work before you give Debbie notice that your place works. You gotta make sure that on your own.
Supervisor Clary?
Seems like we don't start really looking at this, I think the quorums are becoming an issue, and they're really thinking about who's here and who's not here. Unfortunately, it goes back to Debbie or Deanna or someone that has to make sure that they have enough quorum.
because if you weren't there and the public came,
Right.
who's gonna provide them the meeting information?
Here's my concern on this, and I'm just gonna say this, I know I've said it a couple of times. But as far as somebody having the ability to approve who comes and who doesn't come, okay? As I sit here and look around this room, and I say this in all honesty, I don't know of anyone in this room that's sitting on the Board of Supervisors today who would not approve or approve somebody to do something that was gonna alter the outcome of a vote, whether it be Republicans or Democrats, okay? Because we don't operate that way. The other option is there, if the person that really wants the opportunity to debate something can always ask to have that resolution withdrawn. Okay, we've done that in the past where somebody, we've had a resolution in the packet and the person, the sponsor that has wanted to withdraw it. I think we're making this much more complicated than we need to. I think that every supervisor in their own way should have a vote. If it was a situation down in Easton, like we were discussing something within the garage down there, and you were sick and you couldn't come in, all right, but you wanted to have your opinion heard on behalf of your residents, it would be nice if you had a way that you could do it. You experienced a heart attack. I experienced COVID. Mr. Hogan was out for, 2 months with his condition. And there could have been some votes that were critical to the town. Well, he couldn't participate by being here. He'd have had the opportunity to vote on those specific issues that were pertinent to his town so they could fully represent the people. It's not like it was back in those days when we didn't have the technology to do it. We've been given a gift of technology to utilize. And I think we should utilize that and to the best of our abilities. And I don't care who's in this chair, rather for me or whatever we have here now. And this policy can always be changed down the road. If it's being misused or abused, then the body would rule to change it, change the rule, the way that we do it. But I think we do have some supervisors that are serving now that it would behoove them, it'd be much more beneficial for them to have that opportunity to attend. You know, there's nothing worse than taking a schedule and time on your day to maybe set up a quorum, only to find out that the meeting's going to be canceled, or you get up here and there's no meeting as a result of that. You know, it could be done by quorum. And some things, you know, it's more practical to do that way, with the cost of gas and everything else that's involved. So that's all I've got to say. And I think that our concern about who's going to make that decision, and is it going to be a politically charged decision, or is it going to be because one of us doesn't like each other? I honestly don't see anybody, if the chairman has that responsibility or whatever, I don't foresee anybody going in that direction. Not who we have here today. And if, you know, that changes over the course of time with new people that are brought on the board, I think we're in a position as the board can change the rules. That's a prerogative that can be done. So, you know, I think from that perspective, I like to believe we have the credibility with our other supervisors to know they're going to do the right thing and they're not going to abuse the system. Dana?
Sam, I don't think anybody here thinks that it is a political way. On my computer screen right now, in the upper left corner, I see it's recording live YouTube. If this is live stream, the public can see everything I see right now.
Exactly.
So, if this is live stream, who cares if where your location is open to the public or not? Who cares? Because the public doesn't have to go to your town hall and see. From their home, they can just log on and see. The open committee government, whatever.
Right.
Well, that's...
Oh, no, the state legislature says.
Okay. All right, well, then they need to come into the 21st century and realize the public can see right, as long as it's live stream. If this is recorded and put on later today, that won't work. But if this is live stream, the public can see everything live. The public has the right to observe. They don't necessarily partake.
If I had $1 for every time I said, what were they thinking, I wouldn't. I can tell you the way it is. I can also tell you the way it should be, but I can do today is tell you the way it is.
But don't you agree that it's live stream that answers the whole problem about public?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that this is what the law is.
Well, maybe that'll occur.
And the law isn't.
Property tax or closure.
And the other aspect of that, because it is, I mean, people can come in and they can bring their own laptops if that's what they choose to do. Or you can have a couple extra laptops and they can Zoom into the same meeting. I don't think we have to go to a thing where we have, you know, a full screen up for everybody to view there. I think there are ways that can be done and it can accommodate people, and still serve the needs of our supervisors that we have on the board.
Because my image right now is public.
Yeah.
Does that that answers the question of whether it's public or not. It's publicly displayed on YouTube, live stream.
Is there any further discussion?
Put me in charge of this.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, just simple yes or no, Roger, if you could, because I'm trying to understand it. If I choose, if I have whatever those
Extraordinary circumstances.
extraordinary circumstances, I can do whatever's necessary. Now, if it's shorter than 5 days, how does that make any difference for a notice?
Yes, because your
It
extraordinary circumstances, you're just gonna say, I have extraordinary circumstances when you log on. If you're trying to use the public place exception, we have to give notice of the public place.
Okay, so now going to if I set my town hall up for public place,
Right.
I don't need extraordinary circumstances, right?
Correct.
I can just let Debbie know 5 days in advance. So technically, I could put a screen in my town hall, tell Debbie from now on, I'm doing all my business down at the town hall. She can advertise that and I never come up here again.
Yes.
You would never be a quorum member, but you would be a voting member.
No, in a public place, he would be a quorum member. In a public place, he would be. So yes, theoretically, you could sit in your bunker at town hall and never come here again.
Well, it wouldn't be a bunker, it's just, we all can do it. We all cannot be up here anymore at all.
As long as you're in a public place or places.
And see, that's the part that scares me. That's what we'll end up doing, and we won't have good government with that.
James?
That's left on the people to vote us into office.
Right.
If you're not coming to the meetings, I'm sure the Post-Star or your local newspaper is gonna cover it, and it's gonna be an issue in your reelection campaign.
Yeah, you might think that way, but I don't think it'll be that way.
And you're a self-regulating body to a certain extent. So these are options that are being offered to you by the state. You could say, I'm not gonna adopt any of these things, everybody's gotta be here or not. That's your prerogative as well. This is an option that's being offered to you, not something that you have to do, but if you're gonna do it, this is the way you have to do it.
Supervisor Campbell?
Yeah, I just believe it's an opportunity that we should have, just in case, but there's nothing like being here and having a regular meeting.
Right.
I would hope that everybody can see that from being here, because I don't think anybody, if you've been here, witnessed this today, go this afternoon and watch it, and see if you enjoyed it the second time. Because it'll give you a different opinion about being in the room or watching it on the screen.
You can't retract your statement, though.
Just neglect the part where I couldn't, decide who the supervisors were, and I had their name tags right in front of them.
Well, my point then is this, it's comprehensive, but it's complicated, and we shouldn't make assumptions, and if you are gonna video conference in, you better make sure you dot your i's and cross your t's,
Yes.
and make sure you're gonna count.
You're absolutely right, man, I appreciate
I'm
that.
gonna vote for it, but I hope nobody uses it ever if we don't have to.
What would happen if you voted down and it went down?
You wouldn't be able to.
Not necessarily.
You won't get worse government.
Okay, Dave, let's,
Everybody being in the room.
go ahead, David, we'll try to move
I have a
forward.
component of people being in the same room. I think it works the best, you get interaction, you get better thought process, decision-making process. However, I'm also of the opinion that we have people for some reason can't make a meeting. I would like them to be able to listen to the committee meetings and the board meetings, so they're making intelligent decisions. And if they have comments, they should be able to make those comments, because that may influence our decision-making process. Again, strong believer, be in one place, but I more importantly want people to be educated on what we're doing so they can make intelligent votes at this board meeting.
Thank you, Dave. Is there, any other further discussion, or does somebody wanna call the question, or do we wanna?
This could be roll call.
It's gonna be a roll call.
It's a 2/3 roll call vote because you're amending the rules of the board for this policy.
Okay, so then we'll have the roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Haff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary? Yes. Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 2,967 yes, 164 no, and 1,295 absent. Resolution number 233 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title to amend mental health budget for 100% state aid.
We don't need mental health after that one.
Moving resolution 233.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have any discussion, or seconds, I'm sorry. Supervisor Hanky, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Nolan. Is there any discussion? Any discussion?
Not enough money there.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 234 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title to create capital project number 132, sewer district capital improvement.
Moving resolution 234.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Fisher, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hanky, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Nolan. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 235 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title amend capital project number 125, capital improvement plan for St. Paul's Roof Engineering.
Moving resolution number 235.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Hanky, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Rozell. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Ferguson also seconded. Discussion, Supervisor Half, did you have your hand up?
Yes, we own this building, is that correct?
Yes.
But we still call it St. Paul's,
Yes, it just as an identifier.
just no historical name of it.
Yeah, it belonged to the parish at one point, and we took it over, and we used that building as part of our in-kind match for leave.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 236 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title to close capital project number 78, TR 113 Bridge over Battenkill.
Moving resolution 236.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Ferguson, and Supervisor Hanky. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 237 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title to set date of annual meeting.
Moving resolution 237.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Hanky, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Nolan. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 238 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Halfpick, Spedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Griffith, title determined in time and place for a public hearing on the 2023 tentative budget.
Moving resolution number 238.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Nolan, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hanky. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And that concludes all of our resolutions, and we are now down to supervisors' comments. Do any of the supervisors have any comments? Supervisor Hicks.
I just want to notice that, in an automobile accident on Wednesday, we lost, Jim Briggs, who's from Granville. Jim worked with, Board of Elections forever. He wasn't a commissioner, but he was the guy who set up the machines and transported them around, and, if there's any issues, he took care of them, and he worked with, that office quite closely, and I'd just like to point out, he'll be solving this.
Thank you, Matt. Supervisor Hanky.
First up, I want to apologize for taking up an hour with the privilege of the floor today. Secondly, I wanted to, since we've spent so much time beating up our departments, I wanted to compliment one. I went over and got my booster shot from Public Health, and it was, as usual, very smooth and very efficient, and they did a great job. They had a lot of people over there, and they did a really admirable job getting them through. I appreciate it. I wanted to talk about another lamentable passing here, which is the loss of the Auction Barn Restaurant in Mount Argyle. It's been there since 40s, I think. They'll be closing up Sunday, be the last day, so. I don't know what I'm gonna do for breakfast in the future. I would like to comment that I hope our domestic terrorism plan has Dana's picture on the front, but on that subject, I would like to just exhort people, if all the gun owners and all the hunters in New York State voted, they'd be one of the largest voting blocks in New York State. It could really affect policy, and we typically voted about 5%. So I would really like, hunters and gun owners to get out there and vote this time. It really makes a difference if you see some of the absolute non-common sense stuff that's going on. We could change that in a heartbeat if you just go out and vote. So I strongly recommend all gun owners and sportsmen in general just get out and vote this time. Thank you.
Supervisor O'Brien.
So, basically, report out that the Champlain Hudson Power Express has been through the last approval processes for starting construction in Washington County. It looks like we're gonna start construction in later part of November. They've got their financing in place. They're gonna get their financing approved probably this week or next week. Next week, the week after. And first draw, so we'll be starting their construction. They're gonna bring business into Washington County. Of course, they are looking, they have been contracting with local contractors, so we'll bring some business into some of the employers in Washington County, so it's a good thing. And watch your notices. It will probably be a event that a lot of us should attend sometime in November.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else? Sue?
I just want to give a shout out to, there's so many volunteers in our county and each of our individual towns that are making such a difference in our community life. And it is continual. You look at firemen and EMS and person that sees that the sidewalk needs to be swept or the windows need to be washed or what have you. It's all across the board and everybody can participate. It's incredible to watch the spirit with volunteerism. Very thankful for that. You can see it happening, whether it's in Salem or Cambridge or Greenwich. And people all work together.
Thank you, Sue. Supervisor Skelly.
Yes, we have a resident in Jackson that is going to have a very special event. His family has decided to hold an open house up at the Salem Firehouse for a celebration of his 100th birthday party. Public is welcome to stop in and see. This is Richard or Dick McGuire, as everybody knows him. And his mind, fortunately, is still just as sharp as it was 20, 30 years ago. He's, he can answer any question you ask. Unfortunately, our communities have a lot of these people that become so old we forget everything that they've done for the communities and for their industry and for the country. And if you just indulge with me a minute there, I'll hit a few highlights on it. For one thing, in '75, he wrote a book on his views of how agriculture and society changed from when he was a boy up to now. He probably would add just a few more chapters if he knew he was going to live another 25 years. But, the rich history that these people have, he actually sat on the hillside and watched 22, one of the oldest roads in the state, if not the country, be paved for the first time. When you think back about that, that's pretty extraordinary. He was an innovator. He was the first person in Washington County to have a chainsaw business. He was the first person in Washington County and in the area to have bulk tank business, which changed the whole industry of dairy farming, made the quality of milk go up and the size of the farms and everything else. He brought Pioneer Seed dealership into the area, which probably is the most sold seed in all of New England and New York now at that point. He was the first one to bring it into the area. Later on in life, he became very involved in Farm Bureau, became New York State Farm Bureau president. That gave him an opportunity to be on the National Farm Bureau Board. He became a member of the executive committee there. Well, on the executive committee, at the height of the Cold War, and Russia, Soviet Union's people were starving to death because they spent everything on military and nothing else. He was sent with a small group over to the Soviet Union to negotiate grain sales to them. That was quite an extraordinary trip for him. They couldn't take any pictures. Said he knew why they were starving to death. They were still using turn of the century, oxen to plow, hand carts, things like that, even though this was in the 70s. He said, you just couldn't believe you were escorted everywhere, including to the bathroom, had armed KGB guards sat outside your door every night at the hotel room. And when they got ready to leave, they got to the airport, got to a little room where they were being held. And there was a bench and a bathroom, and no luggage. They sat there for 36 hours. At some point, they actually thought maybe they were being held for an exchange, a diplomatic exchange. They had sat there so long. And that was giving the KGB the opportunity to check every aspect and everything they've done while they've been there, check their luggage, go through it several times. But when they got back and got all done, they did have a grain deal, and I believe that's kind of the start. When you start working with other countries and start exchanging stuff, that sort of got the Cold War starting to simmer down a little bit, and I think that was a good thing. He had an opportunity, being up there in ag policy, he actually got to sit down and discuss with 4 different sitting presidents ag policy and ag stuff. That's pretty unique. He came back to Farm Bureau and became ag commissioner under 2 different governors, Mario Como and George Pataki. So he on both sides of the line, the parties there, he was thought of that much. American Farm Bureau, a few years ago, gave him the Distinguished Service Award, which is the highest award probably anybody involved in agriculture can get. Very few people get that. And then, as he got here, ongoing, later in life, he got back to his community service again. He's an avid sports fan, and a superb athlete on his own. He lettered for sports in high school, and he lettered in 3 sports at St. Lawrence University. Played golf right up till a couple of years ago. He loved going to high school games all over the county, and sitting at his alma mater, Salem, Washington Academy, as we like to call it, too, because we have to remind ourselves and everybody else it's one of the oldest schools in the nation, continuous. But he sat there and he was saddened to see the field and the state of the track and some of the stuff. He knew a small school and a small community couldn't afford to upgrade even with state aid. So he worked with the school board, and with his children at his age, his children were all retired and well off, and his grandchildren were on the way on their careers and doing well. He donated the money to match the state aid to redo the fields and the track up at Salem. So if anybody, don't forget his museum. He has a museum that rivals, and many of you have been there, rivals Washington counties. It's tremendous if you ever have a chance. And he says he's about done giving tours, so at 100. He says he draws the line. But any of you that ever met Dick or known Dick, you're welcome to stop in. It's November 6th, 1 to 4 at Salem Firehouse, and it's good to be able to appreciate somebody before they're laying in state in front of you. So, thank you for indulging me.
Well, thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Sue?
Just add to Dave's extra, and Adams, we had a story court at the courthouse just 3 weeks ago, and the 2 of them went back and forth exchanging stories about their life. And not all of these, they centered on a couple of stories, but the sense of humor, the twinkle in his eye, the ability to share what he remembers was unbelievable. So please, if you have a chance, you should come and see him. He is just on top of his game at almost 100 years old. He's amazing. Great guy.
Yes. Brett?
Yeah, he was on top of his game his entire life, so I'm surprised he's still in. Just to mention, I think on Wednesday, we're gonna present the budget, so be aware that's coming. I'm trying to get it at least to the top of the carry forward number if I can, for Al, and I think the number should be, and tend to agree with him. Really need to cover the cost of the things we actually have to do. End up having a tax or not, but that's the way it's going. Through it, we're getting there, taking time, but, thank all the department heads, they've been more than great. I mean, just gracious for the work they do, and when you call or call some of their financial people, you can make sure everything's in line, and that's greatly appreciated. And the fact they all work together too.
Hanky.
Just a comment to Jay, it might be nice to have a proclamation from the county for November 6th.
We can do that, absolutely.
I think that probably write it up for you.
We can do that. Paul, Supervisor Ferguson.
I'd just like to remind everybody that, the colder weather's coming. Fuel is like $6.02 a gallon. We have many elderly people, and maybe younger people too, that are gonna need assistance. Some people would be too proud to beg. I don't want to lose anybody, winter because they freeze to death. Recently, my truck was broken into, smashed my window out, took all my stuff, and I hope that they took it to sell to get fuel oil, something like that. But I just want everybody to just keep an eye out for your neighbors and make sure no one freezes. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. I would just like to make a comment here of, an email that I received, yesterday, as a matter of fact. It was from a resident up in Pilot Knob. He wanted to comment on the excellent paving job that's been done on the road up into, from the Washington County line, all the way through Pilot Knob. And he compared it to, what a great job they had done versus the road that had been paved in Warren County up there. He just wanted to, tell the people, whoever did it, he was thinking it was done before he ended there, but I sent him a reply and I said, can't take credit for that. That's, done by our county DPW department, and I will send your kind comments on to Deb, which I did yesterday, because he did an outstanding job up there, obviously, and that the residents really appreciated that. Second thing is, I would like to, apologize to the body that I let the speakers we had today for the, comments from Supervisor Privilege of the Floor run over their time. They had a story they wanted to tell and didn't know where to cut it off. I thought just as they were getting ready to stop, they came up with another portion. So I want to apologize for that. I do want to extend to the department heads that are here and the ones that are not here, we appreciate the job that you truly do. Our employees, as usual, even through the tough times, they perform well, and I think we need to keep that in the forefront of our minds. And finally, I'd like to congratulate Supervisor Nolan from Greenwich, who has been appointed to the SUNY Adirondack as a trustee. And as a result of that, he's going to be leaving the ACC committee, the SUNY Adirondack committee. And so if anybody else would like to volunteer to step up and take that position on there, I'd appreciate it. If not, I'll be calling around to see if we can get somebody to fill that, so we have the number that we need, other than just being a even number, so we get stuck on votes or whatever the case may be. But Jim, thank you very much for serving on that committee. Appreciate that. Good luck with your new assignment up there. Yeah, appreciate that. All right, is there anything else to come before the board today? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.